Da 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 da. Well, that's not the best rendition of the Jurassic Park theme. And also, why the Jurassic Park theme? I guess because it's got a triumphant feel to it. But right here we have now Father Ryan Casey of the Paulus Fathers on the right there, and now Father Michael Hennessy of the Paulus Fathers. That is right. Get a good look. That's our old, the good old-fashioned Paulus vocation poster right there. Here we are. And what you just saw were two of the brethren who were ordained priests of the Paulus Fathers in New York City. And what an experience that was. So you may have caught me last time. I did a recorded version of Office Hours for the first time. I am sorry that it was not live. There was a lot of street noise. It was very difficult to do. But I tell you what, I think it came out pretty well. I worked really hard on those title sequences, at least for 7 to 8 minutes it took me to put those things together. Main thing is, what a beautiful weekend that was in New York City, ordaining our brothers Ryan Casey and Michael Hennessy, who are now going off to a life of full-time ministerial priesthood. I am so amped for them. So, two great guys and beautiful ordination. I'm going to address a few questions pertaining to ordination in this particular episode of Office Hours. And so I requested questions in the last episode in New York at the corner of, I think it was 48th and 7th, I forget. And some people were good enough to ask questions, and one I may have just made up on my own. So thank you for those. So we'll get to those in a moment. We're having a good summer here. It's just been lovely. I'm upstairs on the, we call it the third floor, amidst there's the library and here's the kitchen. I think you've seen the kitchen before, but there's, student kitchen area. I'm up here, and you may be wondering, how am I getting this kind of distance here? How is this happening? I'm using what's called a self-photograph stick. Okay, and this allows you to use your phone in self-photograph mode. In certain circles, this is what's called a selfie. I think that's the particular sort of language that's used around that. I call it a self-photograph. That's sort of a modern, contemporary term that I've used. Anyway, so it's on the end of this thing. I'll have to evaluate how obnoxious this is. Kind of holding it and walking around. It's not too difficult for me. I see other people doing it. Sorry, the door is attacking me. The door is personally attacking me as I walk into the student lounge. Too much light there. That's probably about, yeah, that's good. That's good. That gives you a good overview. So hope you all are doing well in this summer. Been a little too humid for my taste, but at least after the ordination, I did enjoy some time. We were by the water, the ocean, but we were kind of working the job. It was the Paulus General Assembly. Father Vinny and I were at the Paulus General Assembly. This is a body that meets every 4 years, sort of makes some bigger picture decisions for the life and mission of the Paulus Fathers, and we came to some great agreement on things, and I thought it was a very valuable and very fruitful process, and the Holy Spirit was really at work. But I was at the San Alfonso Retreat House, which is run by the Redemptorists in Long Branch, New Jersey. And I'd been there before, so I knew what I was getting into, and I really liked it. But we were mainly there for, the work of talking about Paulus life. What are we doing? And I think we all came away more energized with, the guys that we have, the skills and the talents and what we have to move forward with for our mission. So I came away feeling good. So that was the General Assembly. Enjoyed it. It was about a week. Father Vinny and I came back last Friday, just settling back into Columbus life. So getting on to these questions I got here. This is from Jay in Northern California. And I don't know what town in Northern California. I didn't think to ask. I just said, thank you for your question. And but he knew us from when the Paulus, I guess, were in Santa Barbara. And I don't know exactly where on the map Santa Barbara is. I think he's moved since then. Once again, it's not office hours without unnecessary details. Okay. His question is, and this is interesting because actually I saw Father Dave Dwyer just answered this on Busted Halo, so I may just be repeating that. But if you didn't see it, the question is, when is he a priest? These are all ordination questions. So like Mike and Ryan, for example, when they were ordained, when I was ordained, when other guys were ordained, what's like the moment I can point to where I can say, all right, that dude who was walking in there as Deacon Rudiger, when was he deacon and when was he priest? What's the moment? So that's, it can be a little tricky to define. But what we talk about in terms of Catholic sacraments are matter and form. These are the pieces, the elements that have to be there to make the sacrament valid and effective. So in the case of like baptism, the matter is the water. So the water is the matter. You have to have water for baptism. And the form is the prayer that is prayed. I baptize you in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. So it's like, what are you doing with this water? In the case of the ordination, you have the guys to be ordained, you have the bishop, and the matter is the laying on of hands. So it's when those hands are laid on that guy that's the matter of the sacrament. And then the form is the prayer that is prayed immediately after, which says what was being done with that laying on of hands and what we're asking the Spirit to do in that moment. That's called the prayer of consecration. Matter is the laying on of hands. The form is the prayer of consecration. So if you're going to ask, like, when is the moment that they become a priest, it's those two things together, I would say, is our best way of putting it. Now, having said that, it's still, not the ideal way of looking at things, because when you're talking about liturgy, it's all kind of part of a bigger narrative structure. Just as, there are a moment where the matter and form come together in Mass. You have the bread and wine and the prayer of consecration. It's still, we want to look at that thing as a whole unit. It's a whole prayer. But if there's a moment where it's like, all right, is this the moment? Is that the moment? We have to answer it. Someone said, the priests, when they're ordained, get help getting changed. What's up with that? And by changed, I know what you mean. This is what we call the vesting. So when I was ordained a priest, I had two Paulus to help vest me, who were meaningful, significant in my life. One was Father Don Campbell, who is a Nova Scotian, so he's from where I was born, and just a wonderful man, a wonderful Paulus who has many years of ministry behind him, and who has led a really wonderful Paulus life and inspires me, I must say, as a Canadian Paulus. But I also had Father Joe Ciccone, who has been the director and superior here at the Newman Center and was my supervisor when I was on pastoral year, who likewise has long been a kind of Paulus mentor, someone that I've talked to a lot about my ministry and who has reflected with me on these things, and likewise has kind of had already a nice special relationship. And so it was a nice symbol for him to vest me as I came here for my first assignment, to have those two priests. And so I was surprised and honored and touched at this most recent ordination to help the new Father Michael Hennessy be vested with Father Rich Colgan. The two of us teamed up and helped him vest as a priest for a first time. Now, what I'll say about this with vesting is, we just talked about, when is the guy ordained? Notably, this vesting happens right after the laying on of hands and the prayer of consecration. So then we vest him as a priest. So that's kind of a good indicator of when the ordination has happened. And that's just a very old tradition of, sort of helping this new guy and sharing in that special moment where we're kind of passing on, in a certain sense, this priestly life that he now is going to begin into. So it was a great honor. And what is this? Oh, this is easy. What is the bishop putting on the hands of the priest? That is, so there's that moment, you kneel down, you put your hands out, and the bishop often has it looks like a big napkin or something, right, on his knees. That's because he's pouring oil, and specifically it's oil of the chrism, the sacred chrism. This is the same oil we get at baptism and confirmation, And now our hands, our hands are blessed with this sacred oil. The term is anointed with this sacred oil because it's the hands that really do the work of priestly ministry, that are going to raise hands in absolution, but also, first and foremost, are going to consecrate the Eucharist and celebrate Mass. So it's really a lot of symbol wrapped up into that. And why does someone else preach at your first Mass? You don't have to do that. So when a priest has a first Mass, like the next day, there is just a tradition in many places where another priest who's like a special friend or mentor or someone else that you want to ask to do it will preach your first Mass. Part of the benefit of that, to be honest, is practical, because you have so much else when you're celebrating your first Mass to worry about and think about. It's nice to have someone that's prepared and can just do that one thing. I was so happy to do this for my brother Ryan Casey for his first Mass. It was also Pentecost at the Church of St. Paul the Apostle. We celebrated a beautiful Pentecost liturgy, and so just to be able to be a part of his first experience as a presider in that way, it's just something special. But it's not like it's written in the books. Theoretically, you could do it yourself, and a lot of Paulus have. But more recently, this has been the tradition, and I certainly appreciated it. And can the newly ordained guys hear confession right away? Well, here's the thing. Sometimes they theoretically may be able to. What they need is called faculties. So to hear confession, a priest needs faculties from the bishop. So if he's going to be sent to Los Angeles, then the bishop of Los Angeles typically would have to have sent him a letter saying, I give you faculties. It's not really just permission. It's kind of like the power and authority and the, I'm giving to you what is mine and to share in the ministry. It's kind of, it's hard to describe, but it's the faculty, the ability to hear confession validly. And so usually we're waiting for that letter. If they have it already, theoretically they can hear confession. Now, should you tap a new priest on the shoulder 5 minutes after the ordination is over for confession, I probably wouldn't advise it. There's a lot going on in their mind. There's a lot of other priests around that you may ask. And I just generally find sometimes faculties take a little while to get or what have you. Anyway, there's a more in-depth theological discussion to be had there, but that's sort of the basics. And I think that's everything. Oh no, is there an indulgence with the first blessing? Do you get something special because you've been blessed by this brand new priest? That seems to have been an idea that's gone around for a while, but there's actually nothing in the books that says you get like a new car in heaven or something because you've been blessed by Father Michael Hennessy, as wonderful a guy as he is, or Father Ryan Casey. It's really just a nice thing to do, to be able to be blessed by this guy who's just been ordained, and to wish each other well and to celebrate in that moment. So it's not that you necessarily get anything. I'm sorry. It's still a nice thing to do, and you might even get a holy card out of it, a little thing with their name on it. Speaking of which, I still have like 100 of my holy cards left that say like the day I was ordained. So if you want like 40 just for your personal use, I don't know what you do with them, put them up in your office, let me know. Maybe we can work something out. Boy, it's really getting kind of gray out there. That's good for me, as you know. Not a huge fan of the sun. So if the humidity goes down, that'll be terrific. All right, that's it for today. But if you have further ordination questions, things regarding this subject that are of interest to you, I probably had this too high, this whole broadcast. Yeah, I maybe could have evened it out a bit. I'll work on that. This is a new project for me. I also need to focus my eyes. Yeah. Anyway, I hope the use of this self-photograph stick has been as fun for you as it has been for me. And look forward to seeing you next time. All right? God bless everybody. Peace.